12 noon, Monday, October the 19th, 1987. A very good afternoon to you. Bob Lassiter with you until 4, as I am every weekday right here at the Talk of Tampa Bay, WFLA. We'll break the program into a couple of segments this afternoon. The first one has a guest. The guest's name is David Caton. You may remember him from the National Federation for Decency. Mr. Caton, you would be, I suppose, the self-appointed guardian of the community's morals?
That's what you see it as, yes.
Well, you don't see yourself as the self-appointed guardian of the morals of the Tampa Bay area?
I don't see it as being self-appointed. I see it as a responsibility of all people to look out for the concerns of each other, where if you want to get into morality, all laws are based upon some form of morality. We're just trying to enforce what's on the books and what is available to us.
Where is it on the books that you can't sell Playboy magazine in the 7-Eleven store?
Well, it's not on the books anywhere, but we have the right to economically boycott. That's a freedom that's given to us that's on the books.
Well, it seems to be a little bit different from what you just said not 30 seconds ago about your right to enforce what's already on the books. Where is it on the books that a Holiday Inn cannot show R-rated movies?
That's the statement that you made at the beginning and the statement that you made at the end are not even equal or parallel. I made a statement that you can enforce the laws, and then I made a statement that we can also use the rights afforded us to economically boycott.
Well, that's what you're saying now, but you initially said in the interview, and I'd be delighted to play the tape back to you if you'd really like, but you initially said in the interview you had the right to enforce the laws that were already on the books.
True.
And most of the activities that I see your organization in has nothing whatsoever to do with laws that are already on the books, but are harassment and intimidation against independent business people to capitulate to your idea of morality.
Well, you're not seeing the whole picture, because we have a lot of our focus is on the legislative and the executive branches of government. And just recently, we've now been able to get legislation to the point of the judicial branch of the government. We are very much involved in the lawmaking. It's just unfortunate that we,
If you're interested in laws, how come your organization is not registered with the state of Florida as a non-profit organization?
We are.
Funny, the state of Florida says you're not. They've never heard of you.
We're a foreign corporation.
A foreign corporation?
Yeah, we are registered in the state of Florida as a foreign corporation.
You mean under the aegis of the national office in Tupelo?
That is correct. I would ask you to recheck your facts. You can call up Firestone right now and ask him, but you probably checked with domestic corporations.
No, checked with Firestone, domestic corporations, non-profit organizations. They have no listing whatsoever for the National Federation for Decency Tampa chapter.
Well,
none. Nor does the Internal Revenue Service.
The authenticity of the check on that, but I would challenge anybody to write a letter, asking Firestone to see.
I challenged people to do that too when I was at the other station.
We're listed as a foreign corporation.
Under what name?
National Federation for Decency.
It's amazing. Mr. Firestone's office hadn't heard of you, nor had the IRS, by the way. They had no
IRS doesn't
listing.
really have to know about us as long as we don't make $25,000 in contributions a year. A subchapter of the parent is granted the right to receive contributions which are taxable or tax deductible up to 50% of a person's adjusted gross income, does not have to file or even be a filing entity as long as they don't receive more than $25,000 in contributions a year.
So in other words, your organization is so pathetically small that it doesn't even qualify
Well,
to have to
it is
register.
small. Yeah.
About how many members do you have?
We have, locally we have on our mailing, it's about 750 to 800 individuals, and we have 350 churches. But we also have a petition just from those people that we were able to get out and meet, which doesn't really consist of necessarily churchgoers, but we have a petition that has about 17,000 individuals in Hillsborough County that agree with our position on pornography.
Could you define pornography for me? Could you tell me what obscenity is?
Well, pornography and obscenity are two different words. Pornography is a generic term used to define that which would arouse the sexual interest. Obscenity is that which is defined by the law that is illegal. Pornography can be obscene, but not all pornography is legally obscene.
You mean when you leaf through let's say, a Playboy magazine, you become sexually aroused?
Well, pornography, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, originally started off as writing a harlot. Back then, they didn't have, the advantages of, photographic imagery. So, but it was still, its roots come from anything that is really used to create a sexual interest or to increase a sexual interest.
Well, I ask again, when you leaf through Playboy magazine, do you become sexually aroused?
That's something you have to ask yourself.
No, I'm asking you. Do you?
I don't leaf through Playboy.
You've never seen Playboy magazine?
I have seen them before.
Did you become sexually aroused?
I don't leaf through them.
Well, when you saw the magazine, did you become sexually aroused? I mean, did you start panting and things of that nature?
No, I really wasn't looking at the pictures. When we look at the or review any of the magazines, we're looking primarily for articles that we can attack from a legal issue, such as slander and libel, which I'm sure you're aware of, and also the context of the advertisements in the magazine. That's an issue that we'll be addressing here in the upcoming future. Is a majority, I'd say 95% of the magazines sold in the newsstands and convenience stores are violating law because they advertise not only hardcore pornography, but they advertise child pornography as well.
Oh, which issue of Playboy has ads for child pornography?
I said 95 to 99% of the magazines. Playboy happens to be one of those. I won't speak for the last 2 or 3 or 4 issues because I don't know.
Well,
what
could you identify any nationally distributed magazine
I can tell
that has an ad this month for child pornography?
Harvey is one that is popular for it. There was Cavalier's another one that's offered on the...
Cavalier has ads for child pornography.
Oh, yeah, you can look it up. You can look in the back. You see anything that resorts to the statements of that kind of magazines that you can't buy in the United States, or that
I would agree with you that child pornography is a despicable situation. However, it seems to me that the Justice Department and the Post Office in particular have great and very successful crusades against child pornographers. Would it not be better to turn such matters over to the legal authorities than a group of well-meaning people out marching around in the rain and there's tennis sneakers carrying signs?
Well, if you were going to build an issue, wouldn't you pick the strongest points of that issue?
Well, it would seem to me if I was really concerned about child pornography, I would be going to the proper authorities.
We have. We've gone through the proper authorities, and we are going to them
Hillsborough
now.
County Police, the Hillsborough County Sheriff is not interested in child pornography?
No, I'm not saying that. We finally gotten the interest in the specific law. The Florida Statute 847.011 addresses the issue of advertisement of hardcore pornography as well as child pornography. We finally have gotten specifically one of the law enforcement agencies in Tampa to see that there is actual offenses being made.
You have personally.
We're not out, carrying sticks and hammers, looking for people with pornography. I mean, to impose what is already given to us through the rights as citizens of this community to have the laws enforced. We're bringing the infractions, to the police's attention, the sheriff's attention, and they're doing an adequate job, just like with the Todd Theater.
David Caton, my guest. Mr. Caton, please stand by. I'm going to put you on hold. We get more specific, please.
Okay, they were involved in sexual contact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. in bed. The Playboy had this particular cartoon was described in the NFD Journal back, I believe it was about 6 months ago, where a little girl was walking out the front door. A man was standing in the door, partially naked, and the little girl turned around, and I believe she was a brownie, Girl Scout, whatever, selling brownies, and she turned around and said, "You call that molesting?" These are the kind of overtones that these magazines give. By the way, the ACLU, and I thank you for, at least taking a stand on, against child pornography, because the ACLU doesn't. The ACLU and
well, I'm not a member of the ACLU, nor do I speak for them.
Well, the ACLU and Playboy are synonymous. And ACLU really...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, they have mutual officers. Christy Hefner, as you well know or probably know, is president of Playboy Enterprises. She is also on the board of directors for the ACLU.
Mm-hmm.
She is an active member in the Chicago.
So you have seen these cartoons personally yourself?
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, they immediately made you have lewd and lascivious thoughts about molesting children.
Not me.
Oh, not you,
no.
But other people.
Well, you got to understand the intent behind the magazine to begin with. Somebody's going to go out and buy one of those magazines. They're not going out to buy it like Car and Driver to figure out what's the best car for the year. They're going out for their own sexual interest.
Oh.
They've got their sexual interest raised. They've got their morality down. If
but it
they've got
didn't
their
affect
morality
you.
down, and they're looking at a picture that says, or an image saying it's okay to play around with children, you're going to be more inclined, especially if you got a figure that, like I was going to say, the average circulation of those magazines was 15 million magazines. You take 6,000, multiply it times 15 million, you got almost 100 billion pictures that were floated around in this United States for the last 30 years saying it's okay to have sexual relations with children.
Well, that's not the message that you personally got when you saw them, though.
Pardon me?
That's not the message that you personally got when you saw those cartoons. You knew that they were wrong.
Well, you got to be open to immorality when you start opening those magazines for the purpose of when most people, when they open the magazine, they're opening it with the intent of engaging in lust and immorality.
Oh.
That's opening up the door to more creative immorality when they start reading the magazine.
Oh, in other words, these immoral people wouldn't have thought those thoughts without seeing those cartoons.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's something that's prompted by the magazine. You buy your clothes and your coffee and your Coca-Cola and your gasoline and your cars, everything based upon what the media says is offered, right? So, you're looking at the same situation. We're reacting to some form of media, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Who's your next target, by the way?
We don't really have targets.
Well, who will you next be picketing?
We will probably be picketing the Starvin' Marvin chain.
Starvin' Marvin? What's his problem?
Well, he sells the Hustler, Penthouse, Playboy. He sells the gamut.
Will you also be recommending to your membership, in addition to showing up to picket these organizations, that they, write letters to them and call them?
They've been doing that for probably the last year.
It is, then, a tactic of the National Federation for Decency to give out phone numbers and addresses to harass and intimidate people.
No, we give out addresses primarily to let the community speak out for what they feel is a wrong type of message being sent to the community. Do you have children?
No, I don't.
I think you might have,
well, don't presuppose anything. Don't presuppose anything for me, Mr. Caton.
Sure.
I would appreciate if you didn't presuppose anything for me whatsoever. David Caton from the National Federation for Decency. It is, of course, a practice of the National Federation for Decency to give out addresses and phone numbers for people to call or write, correct?
Correct.
What do you think about that? Having people's business lines tied up, having people harassed. Think that's a nice thing to do, Mr. Caton?
Well, it's not as voluminous as you might imagine. Predictably, most of the people, I would have to say, in between 80 and 85% of the people that would be responding to our newsletter or to the journal, the National Journal, would be writing a letter. I don't see it as any different of us voicing our opinion to somebody who's selling something in the community that we object to than interest groups had in the letter writing and phone calling campaigns to our senators.
Well, what would you think about people who disagreed with you turning the tables on you?
Well, to be quite frank, they would have to abide by the same rules that we deal with.
Like giving out 800 phone numbers? Like giving out 800 phone numbers so that it actually even costs the people that you're harassing money?
What are you talking about?
I've seen 800 phone numbers in your newsletters to call people so that it actually costs the people that you're calling money.
Why? Well, would you feel that it would be an effective incentive to ask somebody to put it on their dime when they can put it on the company that's doing the injury to the community's dime?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Caton, I'm going to give you the break of a lifetime. The absolute break of a lifetime. You can tell me right here and right now that you will stop this practice and stop it immediately, or I'm going to give out your work number so the people who disagree with you can exercise the same right that your membership exercises.
You see, there's a difference between what you would be doing and what we're doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's that?
First of all, if you want to give out my number to let them harass me, you need to give out the NFC number.
Sir, I beg your pardon. They wouldn't be harassing you. They would be registering with you a complaint.
Well, my work number is not the, let's say, you want to call that, you call it legally prudent number to give out. We don't give out home phone numbers.
No, I wasn't going to give out your home phone number,
Okay.
Mr. Caton.
We don't give out, well, you see...
Just a number where you can be reached during business hours.
Well, no, they can reach me at the NFD, phone number...
It's an answering machine, Mr. Caton. It's an answering machine that has very limited space on it for taking messages.
That's not true. That's not true. We managed to handle all of the calls that you generated from WPLP.
How do you know?
Because we responded to listening to the tape. The two theories are not the same. Okay. One is the company of interest that we are giving phone numbers and addresses out for are doing the damage. Okay, they're the ones that are actively involved in purveying the.
Well, there are a lot of decent, upright, moral people who think that you're doing a great deal of damage too, Mr. Caton.
Well, the company that I work for has absolutely nothing to do with my interest, and to be quite frank with you, it'd be very, very unethical for you to do that.
Well, you're using their facilities right here and right now to promote the National Federation for Decency on your company telephone in your company office. Are you not?
Doesn't cost them any more money.
Doesn't cost them any more money. Didn't cost them any money during all of the conversations back and forth between you and my producer again on your company phone on your company time.
I'm not an hourly employee. I take home work and I do extra hours. It's no different than somebody that's in the junior activist or some other club that will take out 10 minutes or with the Florida CPAs or that's in some kind of club activity, Shriners. It's no different. For them to have a perspective like that would be religious discrimination or discrimination in general.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. You see nothing wrong with giving out the addresses and the phone numbers, even 800 numbers, which are obviously not intended for soliciting complaints, but are intended for doing business. You see nothing wrong with giving those numbers out to your membership so that your membership can harass, intimidate, and even cost money for the people that you would like to get to. However, you believe it would be an absolute awful thing for me to give out your phone number for people who disagree with you.
No, I'm not.
To tie you up.
I'm saying you have an official number that you may call, and that number is 972-8874 in the Tampa area. That is the official NFD line. We give out the official Circle K line. We don't give out the official Chairman of the Board Rose personal home phone number
No, I wasn't suggesting I should give out your personal home phone number, Mr. Caton.
It's the subject matter is totally irrelevant to his home.
But I seem to recall.
NFD is totally irrelevant.
I seem to recall in your newsletter, I believe it was the Toyota Corporation, if memory serves me. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was a national corporation. I seem to recall giving out the name of the chairman, his address, and then the 800 line, which is basically there for customer purposes, customer use, so that your people could tie up that line, a legitimate business line, could tie it up with inane complaints about television programs that you believe to be unchristian.
We have a legitimate business gripe. We are Christians.
Well, I think this community might have a legitimate gripe with you, sir.
Well, if they have a legitimate gripe, then they can call the legitimate NFD number.
Oh, I see. So it's okay to tie up Toyota's legitimate business number, but it's not okay to tie up your business number.
You don't seem to understand. NFD and the business I work for have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Well, that's not my problem.
It will be if you give out my number.
Oh, really? What are you going to do about it?
We'll see.
We'll see? Is that a threat of some kind?
No, it's not. It's just a
I mean, you've made threats against me before, Mr. Caton. Is this another threat?
No, it's not a threat.
I mean, you have threatened to boycott my sponsors. You've threatened to boycott my station.
We never threatened to boycott your sponsors.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Caton. Off the air, yes, you did.
I'd like you to produce something to back that up.
How about the man that heard the... would you care to talk to the man who you actually made that threat to when you were in a blind rage because I wouldn't let you on the air?
I'm not following you.
I see. Well, I was referring to the night when you called the station demanding to be put on the air. And I said, I'll be delighted to put you on the air if you will identify yourself and give us your phone number so we can call you back because you may not be David Caton. And you then went into a blind rage, screaming and shouting on the phone to my producer at the time, making all kinds of marvelous threats about how you were going to boycott me, boycott the station, boycott the sponsors. You don't remember that, Mr. Caton?
Your interpretation and your recollection can't be exact because you weren't even involved in the discussion, and I did identify myself. I gave my phone number, and I gave my...
No, sir. Had you given your phone number, we'd have called you back and put you on.
I gave you the NFD phone. That's the phone that you could have called me. You called me before. You've gotten a hold of me several times on that phone. I'm calling you now based upon the phone the phone call that your Sue whatever left the message on, and I don't have a problem with giving out the NFD number, and I gave out the NFD PO box. How many people have that memorized? So you just wanted to produce a stir of anger. You wanted to produce kind of a problem for me to be able to respond in the way you wanted me to be in, right there.
Well, you like to create problems for other people, Mr. Caton. What's your problem with having a problem created for you?
Well, we're not looking to create problems for other people. We just want to see a clean society.
Were you not looking to create a problem for the gentleman whose house you picketed, a magazine distributor? Were you not looking to create a problem for him?
We picketed the street, a major thoroughfare. We didn't picket his house. We picketed a street, a major thoroughfare.
Couldn't find out which house was his, could you?
Pardon me?
You couldn't even find out which house was his, could you?
No, that wasn't the point. We would not have been able to even get into the residential area because it's Colbert Isles is.
So you had no problem whatsoever with disrupting other people who lived in that area. You had no problem whatsoever with disrupting the man's neighbors. Had no problem with that. They weren't distributors of pornography, were they?
But most of the neighbors agreed with us, and most of them didn't realize what he was doing. That was the whole purpose.
The neighbors agreed with you?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. How do you know the neighbors agreed with you? Would you go up and knock on the door and stop them?
No, they stopped as they were driving in and out, rolled down their cars, and they said, I didn't realize he did that. Most of them were thumbs up as they drove away. We have, by the way, the support of about 77% of the population.
77% of the population you have the support of?
Right.
Did you, by the way, stop to think about the grief and aggravation that you were causing all of the Holiday Inns that don't even have movies?
We did not picket any of the Holiday Inns that did not have...
No, I know you didn't picket them, but you targeted all of them in your newsletter. Just a blanket Holiday Inn boycott.
Well, We didn't specifically do that. We listed in our newsletter. I don't even see how you can talk about our newsletter. You don't even get it.
I beg your pardon. I have people give it to me.
Well, I would like you to produce one that doesn't list the specific addresses of the Holiday Inns. We picked out 3, the 3 and only 3 in Tampa that have the pornography. We don't.
You wish to go on record now telling me that the National Federation for Decency did not suggest an across-the-board boycott of the Holiday Inns to put pressure on the handful of Holiday Inns that have movies available?
There's not a handful of them. A majority of them have them.
Not in this area, they don't.
I'm not saying that I can't go on record for the entire National Federation for Decency. I can't go on record for the Tampa area chapter.
Well, you could denounce. You could then denounce the chapters, the major organization for their suggesting that all Holiday Inns be picketed. Then, couldn't you?
That wasn't the intent, and that's not anything that has ever been communicated to any of the chapter leaders to do.
How many Holiday Inns are there in this area, sir?
There's, in the actual city limits of Tampa, I believe there's 4 or 5, depending on whether you want to pull that new one in on East Buffalo.
Well, and of course, some of those Holiday Inns that you gave the addresses for, they're not even in Tampa, are they?
No, they're all 3 in Tampa.
All 3 in Tampa. All 3 in Tampa do not show adult movies.
Pardon me?
They do not show, all the Holiday Inns in Tampa do not show adult movies. Some of them are in Pinellas. I think there are something like 9 Holiday Inns in the general Bay Area, and 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, and this is only 3 or 4 that we picketed.
I see.
So we picketed.
So it's not all.
3.
It's not the majority of Holiday Inns that show adult movies, is it?
Yeah, you can't make that a valid statement for.
Well, you're the one that just said it. You're the one that just said the majority of Holiday Inns
I'm saying
show
for
adult
every
movies.
Community. You can't make that statement for every community. There are some communities. No, I didn't either. I'm saying nationally, a majority of the Holiday Inns carry the pornography, and most of them, by the way, did not get into that contract with a full understanding that they were going to be forced to carry that particular type of entertainment. And speaking with one of the owners, which I will not name, said that when he laid out his $25,000 to purchase, it's kind of like a franchise cable situation between them and the franchisor, he had no idea that he was going to have to carry the adult pictures. When it came down to running the operation and realizing that was mandatory, he was very dissatisfied. What do? You throw away $25,000, you get back down to buck versus morality.
Your morality.
Not mine. Not mine. There's a lot of people that believe that material is harmful. A lot of people believe that it is dangerous and degrading. And so I'm not the only person that feels that way.
But, of course, the material is not harmful, dangerous, or degrading when you view it.
I don't view it.
Well, you've seen it.
I have seen it, but I have not seen it for the purposes of what the majority of the people look at it for.
How do you know what the majority of people look at it for, Mr. Caton? Are you inside their heads?
No, but yeah, I mean, I don't seem to see anybody buying a Playboy or Penthouse magazine for the sole purpose of reading material.
Really? Fred and St. Pete, you're on the air, WFLA.
Hi, I'd like to address some questions to Mr. Caton, please.
Go right ahead.
All right, Mr. Caton, I was curious to know, I've been listening to this with great interest, and I just wondered by any chance if you could tell me who is your largest contributors to your organization financially?
Financially, we have most of our sponsorship coming from churches.
Okay, well, what I wanted to get a little more specific than that for information purposes, like what denomination or church would you say? I mean,
I would have to say that, strangely enough, the Presbyterians, Methodists, and Baptists, in that order. We also have support from independent, charismatic, independent, non-charismatic, Church of God, Lutheran, Assemblies of God, Catholic.
Is your organization a what they call a PAC group, a Political Action Committee group?
No.
All right. What is the purpose of the National Federation for Decency?
The sole purpose of the National Federation for Decency is to strive to return the Christian moral ethic to the community.
Oh, you're a religious group then?
Yes.
Okay. One other thing that I wanted to ask you, in your endeavor to do this, to carry out your wishes, how do you plan on doing that as a group?
As a group, we are asking the private industry to take note to the damage that pornography has caused, and we are also trying to increase, basically, on the government side, our interest.
I was just curious, who died and left him in charge, basically? Who gave him the right to decide what is pornographic, what Circle K can and cannot carry, what Holiday Inn can and cannot show to consenting adults on the TV? Who basically put him in charge, gave him the right to decide what's best for the rest of us?
Mr. Caton?
You want to know? George Washington and John Hancock.
Oh, God, give me a break. Come on, I'm telling you, I asked you a real question. Give me a real answer here.
We're talking real answers. I have the right, just like you have the right to state your interest in my activities, I have the right to state my interest in other people's activities. That's the freedom that we have and we share. And quickly, you say you don't like cigarettes.
Uh-huh.
They're unhealthy. Do you feel the same way about
Steve, I thank you very much. Mr. Caton, I'm starting to run out of time for this hour. Would you be able to stay with me in the second hour? Quite a number of people would like to speak with you.
Well, I would like to, but that goes into off my lunch hour and into company time.
It goes on to company time. I just want to come back to one point then with you again. Your employer, of course, knows your affiliation with the National Federation for Decency.
My affiliation?
Yes. Your employer is aware of this.
My employer, oh yeah, they're aware of it.
And your employer is aware that at least from time to time you do take calls there at the place of employment on NFD business.
They're aware that I take phone calls for personal reasons.
And so therefore we might assume from that there is at least some type of tacit approval on their part.
There is absolutely no approval on their part for what you are leading up to.
Well, have they threatened to fire you for doing this?
No, I'm talking about what you are talking about. I'm not going to grant or even give an implication.
Well, there is some at least passive approval of your activities on the part of your employer, correct?
No, because they don't specifically know every personal phone call I get. Okay.
Well, nor does the Toyota Corporation or any other corporation know specifically everything that is in a television program when they place their ads with it. But you would have people come down on Toyota for their passive activity.
That's not personal.
Mr. Caton, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon, sir.
Bye-bye.
We shall continue the conversation after the news into the second hour. Please, whatever you do not venture very far. Caton says 77% of you agree with him. I wonder. Little dilemma here. In the first hour, of course, we spoke with David Caton of the National Federation for Decency, an organization that likes to harass other people and intimidate them, an organization that likes to solicit their members to call and tie up business lines of people who sponsor television shows or advertise in magazines or whatever it might be. Seems to me we have a double standard here. That if a magazine accepts an advertisement or a television network accepts an advertisement from a legitimate commercial business in this nation, according to the National Federation for Decency, they are at least passively endorsing the editorial policy of the magazine or the program content of the television show. And the National Federation for Decency has no problem whatsoever, for example, with boycotting or picketing a place of business that carries a magazine that they don't appreciate or agree with. The National Federation of Decency has no problem whatsoever with the innocent people who work for that organization and any ramifications that may come to them through possibly loss of jobs or loss of income, whatever it might be. They have no problem with that, but Mr. Caton seems to be a little bit upset with the possibility of you using the same tactics against him. He doesn't mind you calling his phone number where there's an answering machine, where it doesn't bother him in the least. It doesn't tie him up at all. He has no problem with that whatsoever. But here Mr. Caton works for a private employer who allows him to use their phones, who allows them to use the office, who allows them to even use their time to conduct National Federation for Decency business, but Mr. Caton doesn't think it would be proper or right or even fair to give out his business number, so that if you disagree with him, you can call. Oh, actually, even if you agree with him, you can call and tell him, keep up the good work, Dave. Isn't that interesting? Would you like the number? Would you like the number? Mr. Caton says that 77% of you agree with his position, whatever that position may be. 77% of you, I wonder. We'll just throw this hour into a little, should we give out the telephone number discussion? Should we use the same tactics of the National Federation for Decency against them that they have no problem in using against other people? What do you think?
We're out over the air, and I also think he's a liar. You remember his little comment about Playboy and the other magazines and their cartoons encouraging child pornography?
Yeah, I recall.
Well, I have 16 issues of Playboy, and I went back and looked through all of them, and I found out of 16 issues, one cartoon which had a child in it. And it shows, it's two children actually, they're looking at Santa Claus. And they say, he deals in promises, hopes, and anticipations. I prefer to go to a store and get what I want. Don't you get the sexual vibes there?
Oh, yeah, I tell you, my penis is already getting hard, just from your description of the cartoon. So you think we should give out the phone number, huh?
I think you should. I think you should also give out the NFD toll-free number that they have of their own.
I have that at home. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it with me today.
I've got it. Would you like it?
Well, sure.
Kid.
Actually, tell you what, let me give you to my producer. Give it to him off the air, just in case, for whatever reason you have it incorrect. We'll double-check it, and if it checks out, I'll give it out on the air.
Certainly.
Okay? So, Pete, line 3.
Well, I want to say there's two sides to every question, but I never understand you, Bob, why you don't take one good side. There is decency, and why don't you promote it?
Why don't I promote decency? You're suggesting, Nellie, that I promote indecency?
Mm-hmm.
How's that, Nellie?
Well, that's the way it goes with you.
Well, could you give me an example of how I've promoted indecency?
Well, that's the only topic you ever have that...
Could you give me an example of how I have promoted indecency?
And I don't
Could
see
you give me an example of how I have... You can't give me an example, can you, Nellie?
I don't see you picking on
Nah, you're just an old blowhard, Nellie, because you can't even give me an example of what you have accused me of
You
doing.
only pick on the little guy.
Right. You can't give me an
Pick on
example, can you,
Charles
Nellie?
Carter and
Just an old
Arthur and see what
blowhard.
he
Just
said.
an old blowhard, Nellie. Give me an example of how I promoted indecency or you're gone.
All you have is rottenness.
You're gone. Oy vey. Rod lives in Hillsborough.
All right, well, is there a local directory of idiots?
No.
No? Okay. I got a couple questions that maybe you might be able to answer. You said that he was with you a couple times, or one time anyway, over at your other station.
No, he would not. We offered to put him on the air if he would come in studio. He refused to do so. He called up one night during the course of a program,
Raving mad.
demanded to be put on the air. We couldn't verify that it was David Caton. We asked him to give us a phone number where we could call him back. He did not, and then went into a rage with my producer, threatening the most despicable consequences for me, the station, and the sponsors of the program.
What are you going to do, blow you up?
No, ruin us financially.
Oh, financial. Oh,
Right.
Oh, okay. God forbid. First of all, I presume Mr. Keaton's probably still listening. By the way, is it K-A-Y-T-O-N or K-E-Y-T-O-N? Or
It's C-A-T-O-N, I believe. Let me double-check that. C-A-T-O-N, correct.
Okay. Okay. I want to know where he got his drugs during the 60s. Because this guy obviously has not been in touch with reality for, probably 20 years.
Employment display my displeasure at his opinion.
Gary, would you definitely come out to that place of employment if I put together and went out myself a demonstration against him? Would you definitely come out to that place of employment?
I certainly would.
Next, go to Mike in Countryside. Hi, Mike. You're on the air at WFLA.
Hi. I'm just calling to say that I agree with Mr. Caton.
You agree with Mr. Caton. People should be harassed and intimidated.
No, that was what you said. I said I agree.
Well, that's what it is. It's harassment and intimidation.
No, pardon me, Bob. That's what you said. I said I agree with Mr. Caton. I don't believe that he's harassing people.
You don't believe he's harassing people?
No, I believe that he's exercising his right as a citizen to boycott and those things that he doesn't agree with.
Well, do other citizens have the right to boycott him?
Yeah, I would say essentially that's true.
Then you would be in support of giving out his phone number?
Well, I do see a difference in that only because if you give out the phone number to the National Federation of Decency, I think that's fine. Well, in that case, you know...
As a matter of fact, he's the one that gave us the phone number to contact him there.
Well, possibly, you know, if you did give out the phone number to all these people that want it so bad, and obviously a lot of people would like to call, express their disapproval, I think maybe he'd get fired, and I don't know, I can't see that producing anything good except for maybe that if he did get fired, he'd be able to do this full time. Maybe produce a lawsuit against you for giving the number out, and you'd be able to fund him to do this full time, and I'd agree with that fully if that was what come out of it. But I agree with him. I mean, I like what he's doing, and it's groups like his that got rid of the stuff that was in the 7-Eleven stores, the pornographic materials, and I agree with that. I'm glad that he's doing it.
Is life a lot better in the Tampa Bay area now that you can't buy Playboy at the 7-Eleven?
I'm happier about it. I think
you're happier about it.
They can get it out of Circle K's.
Were you one of those poor people?
Books and other places, I'd be even happier.
Were you one of those poor people that every time you walked into the 7-Eleven, those mammoth female breasts jumped over the counter and started beating you about the ears?
What? Well, I don't even look at the magazines.
And you prefer that nobody else does either?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would prefer that nobody looks at them, and I'd prefer to get them out of the country.
Ever seen Playboy, Mike?
Yeah, yes, I have.
You looked at the pictures?
Yes, I did.
Did your penis get hard?
Well, you want me to be honest with you, Bob?
Yeah.
Well, the honest truth is that I'm a Christian now, and I don't look at them now. But before I was a Christian, I did look at them, and I was addicted to the stuff, and I'm glad that I'm set free from it now and that I don't look at it.
Every time you looked at it, that chemical started running around your brain and your penis got real hard, and you thought nothing but impure thoughts.
Yeah, I would say I was like most of the males in this country.
Most of the males look at Playboy and their penis gets hard.
Well, Bob, I think that's the normal reaction when you look at a naked female. And I'm just being honest with you.
Well, Mike, I would indicate that you have a very serious problem if every female that you see brings lust into your heart. Every naked female you see brings lust into your heart.
Well, Bob, you can't tell me that they're buying...
Not to mention your pants.
You see what I'm saying? You can't tell me that the nation's males are buying Playboy and Penthouse and all the other magazines and Hustlers and the things that are out there and all this stuff. You can't tell me that they're buying that for literary value.
Do you have any idea what the percentage is of the people in the Tampa Bay area who buy Playboy?
No, I really don't.
It's about 4%.
You think, where did you get that figure from?
Standard rate and data.
What's that?
Standard rate and data in industry. Publication that has such statistics in it.
Okay. Are you talking just Playboy? Are you talking Penthouse? Are you talking Hustler?
Playboy.
Are you talking Club? Are you talking all these different magazines?
Talking Playboy, that's the figure I gave out.
Right.
The others would have even lower numbers.
Well, say, when you add all the magazines that are for sale in the Tampa Bay area together, that figure would rise, I'm sure, quite a bit. I mean, you've got a lot of people that are looking at these magazines, and they're not looking at it to read some kind of literary masterpiece. They're looking at it to look at pictures.
Then you are not, you don't stand in agreement with Mr. Caton because he was also very concerned about the articles.
Oh, I agree.
So you think he's wrong about the people reading the articles?
Pardon me?
So you think he was wrong about people reading the articles?
No, I think that there's a percentage of people that are reading the articles too, but I think what he was trying to say is that most of the articles are offensive.
Offensive?
Right.
To you?
Very offensive to me.
Well, Mr. Caton is offensive to me, so therefore should he be outlawed?
Mr. Caton himself?
Yes.
Well, I think you're getting a little off bounds by saying something like that. He may be...
Well, I don't say how that's off balance. You want things that are offensive to you done away with, so why not things that are offensive to me?
Well, Mr. Caton isn't parading around nude and taking pictures of himself and...
No, I appreciate that, but he's spreading what I consider to be some very, very offensive ideas.
And what is the most offensive idea that you find that he holds?
Censorship.
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 So are there any guidelines? Are there any rules?
Are there any guidelines? Are there any rules?
Yeah. Is there any place where we should say this is where it ends and we won't let it go any further?
Possibly.
So then you are in favor of censorship in some form?
Not necessarily.
You just said there must be guidelines.
I said possibly.
Right. So for you personally, does anything go?
For me personally, does anything go? No, I can regulate myself, thank you.
So in other
I
words,
don't need you or anyone else to regulate me.
in other words, every man for himself, what he deems to be acceptable is fine.
Possibly.
And that you see, you're being awful evasive. Now, the other caller accused Mr. Caton of being evasive, and here you are, possibly.
Okay, I'll draw the line for you. Anything that would exploit against the will another individual. For example, let us say child pornography. An 8 or 9 or 10 or 12-year-old child is not capable of understanding what he or she is involved in, so therefore that would be objectionable to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or let us say a woman snatched off the street, her clothes ripped from her, thrown into a photo studio and photographed against her will. That would be offensive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't consider that to be censorship, would you?
Well, so you're just forgetting the fact that a lot of the pornographic materials fall into the hands of minors. You know.
What damage is done by a minor seeing a naked breast?
Come on, Bob.
What damage is done by a minor seeing a naked breast?
Is that all they're showing in some of these magazines?
What damage is done by a minor seeing a vagina?
Is that all that's showing in some of these magazines?
Yeah, the ones that we're talking about.
No, even if you want to take a penthouse, you're talking about two women doing sexual things to each other. That's lesbianism. That's promoting a sexual act between two women.
What damage is done?
What damage is done?
Yeah.
Bob, if you have no more morals... then
What
tell me
damage is done? Explain it to me, Mike.
You're warping, 10, 11, 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old...
You're accusing me of tap dancing. Now it seems to me that you're the one doing the tap dancing.
You want to know what damage is
Yes,
done?
I'd love to know what damage is done.
You're telling society, or you're telling that kid, that is acceptable behavior in our society.
No, I'm telling the kid it's behavior that exists.
Well, I don't think that Playboy is a documentary. It might exist, but we don't promote it, and we don't put it in our society. That's what I'm saying. We don't say this is acceptable, and we'll mass market it to millions.
Why isn't it acceptable for two women to make love?
Why isn't it?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I believe nature itself expresses that.
Well, what do you mean nature itself expresses that? What does that say?
Well, what I'm saying is that men have one part and women have another part. They appear to fit together, and
yes, they do appear to fit together. But also, if a woman licks another woman's nipple, there is arousal. So I guess nature, if nature didn't want that to happen, then nature would have arranged it so that it wouldn't be.
No, you're
Wouldn't you think?
the fact that there's perversions of the natural.
Perversions.
Right. The way, and that's exactly what it is.
What's a perversion?
A perversion is something that was taken that was twisted or in some way made use of in a way that it was not intended to be used for.
Well, how do you know what it was intended to be used for?
Because, as I said, it should be rather obvious. Women have vaginas and men have penises, and they go together. Two vaginas do not go together, Bob.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying? It's very plain.
No, but if you rub two of them together, there's great sensation, and it feels good.
Nevertheless, it's still a perversion.
Oh.
See, and I'm not for promoting perversion.
So, in other words, the only thing that would make it wrong is that you don't like it. You wished it wouldn't happen. So that's the only thing that really makes it wrong, because there's no other damage done, is there?
Well, not only that I don't like it, but and I don't happen to have kids right now, but when I do have kids, I don't want my kids introduced into a society where they're told that homosexuality and lesbianism is normal course.
But it is.
It's not.
But it is. It is normal course.
Why do you say that, Bob?
Because it happens.
It happens. But
yes, it has existed all through history.
Right. I'm not.
So it happens.
I'm not denying that. But I'm all. If you know anything about history, you also know that most of the great nations that had homosexuality fell as the moral climate degenerated. The nations fell apart. I don't want that to happen to this nation.
Well, let me see if I understand this correct. You, before you found God, were addicted to Playboy and other such publications. You were addicted to pictures of naked women, correct?
Right.
That's what I believe we had established earlier in this conversation.
Right.
You, of course, overcame this addiction, and you are now a fine, upstanding citizen, correct?
I would say pretty much so, yes.
And before you found God, you exercised your free will in whatever way that you chose to do so to relieve your sexual tensions, correct?
Yes.
However, you don't want anyone else to have that right. You don't, even your own children, you want to determine in advance how your children will express themselves sexually.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Everyone has a free will. And I'm not going to be able to control my children's destiny as far as what they
Well, you'd
do.
like to control my free will.
No, I can't control your free will either.
But you'd like to. I know you can't, but you'd like to. You and Mr. Caton would love very much to control my free will.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, you'd like to make it impossible for me to buy publications that I might want to look at.
I would sure like to do that. That's
Well,
right.
that's controlling my free will. My free will is that I want to buy them.
Well, there's a free will of many people that they want to kill somebody too, but we don't allow that in society.
Sure we do. We just punish them for it. Yeah, we sell them guns to even make them possible, and clubs and knives and all those kinds of good things. We sell them to them.
Well, you see what
And
I'm
then
saying.
after they do it, we punish them.
We have laws. Well, certainly there is.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the conversation. Good man? Okay, so am I. Are you particularly attracted to large-breasted women or small-breasted women?
Well, that's what I was saying. What is my motivation? I mean, that's it. If I were living in a society where the majority felt one way and I didn't, I might feel very helpless.
Well, most men would answer, I'm either turned on by big breasts or turned off by small breasts or whatever it might be.
Doesn't matter.
And then you'd simply ask, well, why? Well, I don't know.
I don't know. That's exactly right.
Know that I never have any underpants on.
Mr. Lassiter,
Yes, Jacob.
you cannot give out that phone number.
Sure I can.
No, you can't.
Sure I can.
It's a private business.
Yeah, I know it's a private business, but it's a business that allows Mr. Caton to accept pro-NFD phone calls there. So I don't see what the problem would be with having him accept anti-NFD calls there. I mean, if you can accept calls in favor of the NFD, then why can't you accept calls that are opposed to it?
I don't think you're going to give that out. I think you know.
Sure I will. It's 7007. That's the number. Now the exchange is coming up soon.
I think you're just doing, you can't give that out.
228-7007. So there, how about that, Jacob? 228-7007. There's the number.
Well, I haven't confirmed that.
Call it.
And another thing, I think the NFD is a good organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they should picket WFLA
Hope they do.
for you describing homosexual sex acts.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't believe it. I was revolted. You've reached a new amoralistic low,
Uh-huh.
Mr. Lassiter.
Mm-hmm.
You better just quit it.
Wanted to.
Well, it all depends on how you use the word.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can make it cover anything, so it's...
I mean, for example, I used at the other station the most famous F word that you can possibly think of. I used it in the context of reading a letter that the FCC had sent the station. I read the letter as it came in. So what are they going to do? Now, had I sat on the air and hollered, F, 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 F,
yeah,
then that would make me a very irresponsible young man.
I see what you mean.
Very irresponsible young man, and I should frankly suffer all the consequences that I know are out there for me to suffer.
Topper on the back of a truck because he was riding in the back of the truck and had a collision on US 19. And I drive over to Tampa daily from Largo, and I see so many people riding in the backs of trucks. Now, these are adults. They're responsible for themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of them are going to work because they have to, and they ride with the company that they have to, and they would get laughed at if they were to say, I'd rather not ride in the back of this truck sitting near the roof of the truck. But as far as the kids go, I just thought I'd take advantage of your time slot to just complain a little bit on that. I don't know if it bothers you much, but I'm sure you see it quite a bit.
Well, thank you, Grant. I appreciate it.
Well,
Take
I
care.
hope you do. Don't get hit by any flying kids.
Okay.
All right, bye.
I've spent the last 25 months of my life, the last 25 months of my life, 25 months, trying desperately to keep that very thing off of talk radio. There's much work yet to do. Much work yet to do. Ace is not there. Ace left. I know what's coming up. Ivan in Tampa, you're on the air at WFLA. Oh, hello, Ivan.
It's great to talk to you again. It's been so long.
Not long enough, Ivan, but that's besides the point.
Hey, I've got somebody to really dump on out. We're getting back to the old days, the good old days, Bob. Remember those days when people really dumped on people?
Yes, I do, Ivan.
Well, I'm going to dump on expected mothers. I can't stand it, Bob. No more children. That is my platform. No more children. Mass sterilization for the world. Mass sterilization, Bob.
Oh, it sounds like we're about 30 years too late, Ivan.
No, I agree with you, Bob. I agree with you 100%. Look, the world's going to hell in a handbasket anyways. Why don't we enjoy ourselves? No more future. Use up the natural resources. Enjoy it while we can, Bob. It's later than we think.
Okay, Ivan.
Oh, wait a minute, Bob. I want to say one more thing to the people of Tampa Bay. Write your congressmen, senators, aldermen, presidents for gladiatorial combats for the mass murderers.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. I love you.
All right, Ivan. There he goes. A fine American. I like Ivan.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Everybody was talking about, being against child pornography and everything.
Right.
That called up, because I monitored your program from start to end.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find out, if everybody's against it, who is for it?
Just a handful of people.
A handful of people?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know that. Because,
Well, who did you think was for it, David?
Sir?
Who did you think was in favor of child pornography?
I don't know who's in favor for it. I'm against it myself.
Well, I think most decent people, anybody with a shred of decency is.
For real, but I've read Playboy and Penthouse and all those, and you see the ads in there and for the child porn, things.
No, you don't, David.
I have. Yes, I have.
No, you haven't, David. First of all, it would be blatantly, criminally illegal for them to carry such advertisements.
Why would that be?
Because it's against the law, David. Child pornography is against the law.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
And you have not seen ads in Playboy for child pornography.
Yes, I have.
Well, why don't you be a little more explicit, David, and tell us about the specific ad and the issue that you saw it in?
I don't have to, because you're a jerk anyway.
Right, David.
I mean, that's my
right. You're making it up as you're going along, so you want to insult me for catching you in a blatant lie.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And you're a communist, too.
And I'm a communist, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I hang up now?
I don't care, David.
Thank you.
9:90. This is the rough time, the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of the program, when all the people who sat there so patiently for 30 and 40 minutes gave up at the last minute when it was finally going to be their turn. What are you going to do? Easy, give out the phone numbers. 99, your last opportunity to take a cheap shot today or to do whatever it is that you might like to do. I'll wait. I'm a very patient man. Oh, here they come now. My, I love it. I love it. Okay.
Copy of the tape.
No, I'm sorry, we don't do that, Ann.
Could you possibly play it? Do you have a recording that you could play at some future date?
No, that is impossible as well. I'm not sure that it would really warrant being rebroadcast anyway.
Oh.
But it was kind of interesting.
Oh,
Poor Phyllis got caught in a few of her, fabrications, and she didn't appreciate it over much.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you did it to her, but I'm sorry I missed it.
I'm sorry you missed it too, Ann.
Yeah.
You're going to just have to rearrange your schedule so that you'll be available from 12 to 4.
Yeah, well, some of us have to sleep during the day, so, but anyway, thanks again for doing it to her.
Thank you, Ann.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Andy in Sarasota. Hi, Andy. Oh, darn. Andy wanted to say nasty things to me, and he chickened out at the last possible conceivable minute. Andy, you're not going to get any place in this world, man, unless, you become more assertive. You're going to have to become more assertive, Andy. Have the courage of your convictions, my friend. Gina, it's a conspiracy at the other station. I'm not taking calls on the 4 o'clock. Tex in Clearwater. Hi, you're on the air at WFLA.
Hello, Mr. Lassiter.
Hello, Tex.
Who is that guy that was calling up telling you that your show is evil?
That was Jacob, I believe.
Jacob, yes.
Yes, he's becoming a favorite caller. We like Jacob.
He makes me laugh. I want to tell you something, pal. You got me in deep trouble today because I was sitting here at my desk with my Walkman on listening to your show, and when you were having the dissertation about the rubbing of the penises together, I laughed so hard and so loud and so raucously that my boss gave me an extremely stern look.
Oh, no. What kind of a clod do you work for, man?
Well, you see, I don't think he either doesn't have ears or he doesn't know good entertainment, but I want to tell you something.
Does he sound anything like Jacob? I mean, could your boss possibly be going into the supply room and calling me?
I think he probably would hire Jacob if Jacob would come in and apply.
Because this guy Jacob, he sounds to me like he's holding his nose, pinching his nose like that. Sure it's not your boss?
Mr. Lassiter, he reminds me a lot of Mr. Rogers.
Well, the idea of people that buy these magazines are going to be molesting the children. In fact, I think I may, read my Playboy and then pull a couple of the young boys off the street and into the house here. But, it doesn't, you look at it, but it doesn't affect you. It doesn't make you go out and rape, pillage, and molest children. And I call for a boycott of those groups that support it.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I like tweaking their nose from time to time. I like giving them a little taste of their own medicine from time to time. But I can't, I'll tell you unequivocally that I wish that David Caton would ride on the vine and kind of go away. No two ways about that. But I wouldn't do anything to outlaw him. I wish that public opinion would drive him away.
Oh, no.
I wish that. Make no mistake about that.
By no means, should I say outlaw the,
like, for example,
any individual organization, I feel, is free to petition and demonstrate, in any manner, shape, or form that, is perfectly legal under, the laws of our
well, as an example, earlier today I gave out one time Mr. Caton's phone number.
That's correct.
Just so he could get a little bit of a taste as to what it was like. I didn't sit here and constantly give it out. I didn't sit here and pound into the audience head over and over.